ReconAthlete.com podcast is brought to you by Kreitz Market. ReconAthlete.com podcast, episode number 43. Chris Sanchez, Paul Rodriguez, Zach Lucetto is at his training session right now, but he said he's going to make a change so he can start doing Wednesday nights with us, Paul.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be always great for trying to make the best what we can with what we got. So, I mean, also King Galunga was supposed to be here tonight. He's having some events going on right now. He's got a big event this weekend, not only with our live stream at Kreitz Market Sunday the 19th coming up this week, but he's also got an event in Houston that night also. But he should be trying to make his way back. I think he was getting fitted for his stylish outfit. Have you seen that on Facebook lately?
Yeah, I mean, how can you not? If you're friends with King Kalunga, if you follow him on Instagram or on Twitter, or if you're friends with him on Facebook, you have definitely seen the fly suit that Mr. Kalunga's got for what is this that he's going to anyways?
Shout out Slim Thug, shout out Zero. It's Zero's birthday in Houston, so having this huge bash. Okay. And you know how those guys get down. It's a private event. John has like backstage live access that he's acquired. Okay. You know that guy's the plug. He's got an angle for everything.
I know. We gotta throw something with him, dude.
I think we're working on something. All right. But he should be coming back, and I think they were shooting a commercial. I'm not going to name the name because hashtag no ads, but one of their providers is shooting a commercial at Kreitz Market tonight. So, shout out to Kreitz Market doing some big things.
I know Kreitz Market. They got the commercial going to shoot tonight. They got the Recon Athlete live broadcast on Sunday the 19th, starting at 12 o'clock or noon o'clock, as I like to say. So y'all come down to Lockhart, join the live broadcast this Sunday at 12. Yep. We're going to go 12 to 2. We're going to try to get a couple of guests if we can. I'm going to be there. Of course, Zach, Paul, Snoop Daniel, and a lot of family and friends and supporters of Recon Athlete. We've been doing this for about 6 months now, and we got quite a little cult following so far. So we really appreciate everybody that's been tuning into us all football season long. Football's almost over, Paul. We finished high school. Yep. We finished college. Yep. We got NFL left and Championship Sunday coming up, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But first, let's talk a little bit about that national championship game. Before we get into our Cowboys talk, because we always got to get a Cowboys talk. For sure. But let's talk about that national championship game. I know I was pulling for Clemson because they beat my team, Ohio State. Yep. Clemson jumped out to an early lead, but then it turned into a score fest. Who's going to score more points? And obviously, it was LSU that pulled away in the end. And Joe Burrow just showed why he is the Heisman winner for the 2019 season.
Definitely. Shout out Papa Romo. He'll probably be a guest this weekend. But I went and I watched the game with him, and I thought it was going to be Clemson. I had picked them early. I thought they were going to be the ones who were going to be controlling the game most of it, mostly throughout the game. And that was true for like the first half of the first quarter. Brent Venables was sticking with the single high safety, man coverage across the board, sometimes zones depending on the down and distance, and he was trying to get home with his 3-down lineman and blitzing a linebacker. Every now and then, I liked what his game plan was, and that was to mainly blitz in the A gap. He was attacking the left side of that offensive line for his blitzes, and hopefully everybody was getting there at most times they could to shut down Burrow. Mm-hmm. The biggest adjustment I saw that they were making was just collapsing the protection to shut down those A-gap and B-gap blitzes that Clemson was bringing. And once they shut that thing down, Joe Burrow went to work. Yeah. And him and Jamar Chase had a game that night. Jamar Chase is a phenomenal athlete. He's probably OBJ 2.0. Mm-hmm. Dude, 6 foot, 190, run like the wind, catches everything around him, and a great route runner. I thought his route running against some solid defensive backs for Clemson just put him to shame. It didn't matter who they rotated on him. He burned him over the top, or he was just catching balls. Every time they would have a back shoulder throw, he was notching it up. So it was really good to see LSU make the adjustment. And they just went to work, man. And Edwards-Helaire, the running back for LSU, just took it at the end of the fourth quarter and just brought it on home, and they rode him to seal the game. And so props to LSU, props to Coach O, Joe Burrow. I don't know, Joe. I wouldn't want to go to Cincinnati, but maybe you know something more than I do. But I tell you this, I bet AJ Green was sitting there watching that LSU game, be like, I can't wait for Joe Burrow to throw me the ball.
Yeah,
The way he's throwing to these NFL caliber receivers at LSU, imagine what AJ Green and him could get done.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a big storyline now for Joe Burrow is where he's going to go in the NFL draft here in a couple months. But I think personally, what LSU was able to do, and probably with the help of an injury possible, is T. Higgins and shutting him down. I mean, he only had 3 catches, 52 yards. I mean, he's usually a huge part of that offense, and we saw him go off the field, go into the locker room, come back. It didn't really seem like anything was hurt on him, when he was kind of jogging around. Yeah. He looked like he was at full speed, but we're not quite sure what was wrong with him. But he, was shut down by that LSU defense there after a while.
And I really wouldn't even blame Higgins. If anybody's going to take the blame, you got to blame Lawrence. All of his balls after the first quarter were high.
Yeah.
And it's like when or however he was getting hit or being pressured by LSU's front caused him to just get real antsy and getting the ball out a little faster than he wanted to. And you could totally see that with his delivery, everything being really high and overthrowing, which you never saw him do during the regular season or in the semifinal matchup against Ohio State. So I think that was the biggest contributing factor. I think that Coach Dabo Swinney should have utilized ETN in the run game a little bit more. I know they were down, but in the second half, it was 25-28. And yeah, you get a touchdown. They go up 10, but hey, keep running the ball, establish that run so that you can get some type of rhythm, because ETN just can't run the ball whenever you see him fit to do so. He needs a rhythm, needs to get lathered up, and I never really saw them get that done with ETN for that night.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, Trevor Lawrence did have a lot of passes that went high. He was, to me, pressing at the end of the game. He was just trying to make these almost impossible throws, and when you're trying to throw the ball too hard, it's going to go high. I mean, that's either high or low. I mean, I know that being an old pitcher, in baseball, and I think it's similar to being a quarterback. When you're trying to throw the ball too hard, you're either going super high or you're throwing it into the ground. You're not very accurate with it. So I think Trevor was feeling, like you said, a lot of pressure at the time. Not only pressure from the LSU defense, but I think pressure on himself to get his team back into the game and win it, because he didn't want to lose his first college football game in the national championship. It's what eventually happened. Now he's got one more year before he can go into the NFL, which I think is kind of a ridiculous rule. I think Trevor Lawrence could go to the NFL now and getting drafted. Sorry when I mess up right here. But I was like, what happened to my feed?
Live production,
yeah, there's a lot of production. It's hard to host a show and produce it at the same time. So we'll be hiring a producer here pretty soon, y'all. Keep an eye out. But anyways, yeah, it's been interesting to see what he does, next year. I mean, I know his goal is a Heisman Trophy, obviously,
right,
and get back to the national championship and win another national championship. But I heard it was funny. I heard a take actually from a friend of mine, Erin. Shout out Erin. She was like, she said, I don't know why Trevor Lawrence is going to play next year. He should just sit out.
I've heard that also, not by some other some people who probably do this professionally.
Yeah, and I said, and I was like, you know what, Aaron, that's a pretty good, that's a good take. I'm going to mention that on the podcast tomorrow night or on Wednesday night. Because I thought about it too, but for a half a second, and I was like, you know what, he's going to play. He's too much of a competitor. He's not going to sit out a whole season. And so that's what takes me to, can't the NFL and the NCAA come up with some sort of, I don't know, like, just to letting certain guys go through, exceptions,
right?
Like, hey, this guy's got an NFL grade of this or above, okay, all right, we'll grant you a pass to go, or an exception to go to the NFL a year early.
Yeah, because easily Trevor Lawrence could be probably not after Monday night's game, but probably going into the draft 1 and 2, him and Burrow could be 1 or 2 of the top quarterbacks. With Tua not too far behind. But I just think that if the NCAA did that, I think there would be opening a can of worms they may not really want to get into. I think they've done a lot of great moves for allowing athletes to maybe get a red shirt after maybe just playing those 4 games, which, De'Aaron King has actually done at Houston, making that announcement yesterday. But I think the NCAA has done enough for student athletes. This one, to make sure things get a little bit more controlled. And you got to remember, NCAA, they want to protect their product, because if they letting kids go out early based on exceptions, how many kids could they let go and people not watch their product on Saturdays and probably on Fridays?
Yeah, and I have to agree with you. So that's going to wrap up, the college football season. It was a heck of a season, Paul.
It went by too fast.
It did, and it was fun. I mean, I know a lot of Longhorn fans were disappointed with the result. Had a great bowl game, against Utah. And, once again, the Longhorn fans are up for 2020, and we'll see what happens. Sam's coming back and is going to have a cast around him. So a lot of things to be excited about the 2020 football season in college. But we got another, 8 months, I know there's not a lot of baseball fans out there. I'm excited, pitchers and catchers here in like 30 days. But there's a lot of football fans that are pretty sad that the college games are over. We still got the NFL going on. Real quickly before we move on, I want to shout out to everybody that's on the watch party right now. Jay, Adam, Danielle, Snoop, Carrie, Velma, George, Stephanie, Paul, what's up, Pinky? Francesca, Monique, Amato, of course. Shout out to Amato, man. He's just Amato Galvez is a super fan of Recon Athlete. He's always been supporting us. Kalunga's on there. Say Brian, Craig, and Edgar. Shout out Mr. Way.
Just real quick, did you say Monique after Francesca?
No, don't say Francesca Monique. She gonna get mad.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of like, did she? I'll be like, Francesca, I'm sorry. I'll be like, I'm gonna say sorry for him.
All right, so for all of y'all that don't know, my cousin, I'm gonna tell him.
Oh.
I'm gonna tell him. She's gonna get so mad at me because she just texted me the other day. She was like, "Oh, thank you for saying my name. I'm so famous." I was like, "All right, well now you, Francesca. Sorry." So Francesca's middle name is Monique.
I'm not part of this.
And for some reason, she I don't know why. I mean, it's a beautiful name, but I don't know. She's just weird about it, So she doesn't like when we call her Francesca Monique. I guess because her mom probably called her that when she was angry. Like when my mama gets upset with me, it's Christopher. Christopher. So yeah, it's one of those things. So shout out to Francesca. But yeah, it's Monique Celadon. Actually, she's a good friend of mine, and we work together out in Manor.
What up, Monique?
Speaking of Manor, before we move on to the Cowboys talk, Coach Jimmy Mitchell has decided to move on from the Manor Mustangs, getting a job out at Edna
High School.
He came from Beeville,
right.
To get to Manor, and kind of surprising. I as much success as they had this year. State quarterfinals. I thought it was a surprise move for Coach Mitchell, but I thought about it. I was like, okay, well, he came from Beeville area. Mm-hmm. Edna's pretty much like on the other side of Victoria, right. Northeast of Victoria, and maybe he's just trying to get back to his roots. I know he's not that. He's still a young man. He's still a young guy, but I think maybe it was just a move for his family. I didn't get to reach out to him today, but. I'll try to reach out to him and maybe get his thoughts about moving on from the Manor Mustangs. But Manor going to be looking for a new coach.
What a job!
I mean, what
a job!
What do you?
Manor High School would be.
Yeah, you're walking into just a plethora of talent over there. So I think
much talent.
I think there should be a lot of applicants for this job. So there's D1 talent all up and down that roster, and there's still more coming through.
And they're underclassmen also. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of talent that is coming all through Manor High School. So shout out Wham Nation. I know y'all are going to get a great coach. I hope Manor ISD they do their due diligence to get in the right candidates and make the right hire for that community. But a great program to walk into if you're a qualified candidate for that program.
All right, ReconAthlete.com podcast episode 43. Chris Sanchez, Paul Rodriguez. Shout out to Zach. He's getting his workout on. Snoop Daniel might join us a little bit later. And let's get into our Cowboys talk because we always have to get our Cowboys talk. And I made some notes here. The first one we wanted to get into was Tony Romo.
Yep.
Could be in for $10 to $14 million contract annually in a deal with ESPN.
Money.
I mean, dude, Tony.
And
I think I didn't really read the whole thing. I mean, is it for Monday nights?
I would hope so. I would think so.
And I think that's so you're kind of you get more money if you're Tony Romo, but you're kind of limiting yourself.
How?
Don't you think?
How?
To Monday nights. I don't know. I feel like
you work 16 weeks a year.
I mean, I guess you can only do one game a week anyways, but I don't know. Your Monday nights are like, it's kind of set. Like, I don't know. Sometimes games are flexed around, or maybe they can move you around to different games, to bigger games. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, Chris.
Like there's more flexibility when you're on a Sunday, I think.
He's getting almost $1 million per week during the NFL.
I guess it doesn't matter.
I mean, does it really matter? And you're probably, the demands on him are probably not any more than he already currently has.
Yeah.
And the lifestyle, I'm pretty sure his family has gone accustomed for him being away during, the weekends isn't really that big of a deal, because I'm pretty sure he's not spending the same amount of time he was away from home when he was the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. But what does that mean? I mean, what does it mean to be a former Cowboy with a personality, and you can walk into pretty much any job in media and be the top dog?
Yeah.
Troy Aikman, Fox. When Witten retired, he went straight to Monday Night Football.
Right.
Tony Romo went straight to the top lead analyst, color analyst for CBS.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, man, what does it do for you to be a competent, well-spoken, good-looking athlete to go and move on to the next level if you're a Dallas Cowboy? Makes a whole lot of sense for Dak to sign a contract. Doesn't matter what kind of contract it is. If it was my opinion, it's like, what the residuals are going to be when you're done playing.
Yeah.
We're going to walk right into ESPN or Fox or NBC or CBS or who knows.
Mm-hmm.
I think the deal hasn't gotten done yet with Tony yet, because ESPN has also reached out to Drew Brees for, I think, a similar position. And they're kind of saying, well, man, what would it be if we could put Tony and Drew Brees with Tessitore in the middle? I'm not saying Booger's going to get kicked out. I'm just saying, just a little.
He might be.
It's a little challenging looking at those fingers on Monday Night Football. It's
come on, man.
I mean, but Booger likes to talk with his hands, and props to Booger.
Hey, and you know what? So do I. I do that a lot. I mean, like Zach always pulls my hands down when we're doing it, and I start, getting Italian over here.
We took extemporaneous speaking. I took business public speaking when I was in college, and so I'm always real like animated. I try not to be, but I think that it's just a great position for Tony Romo to be in. He brings the huge following from Texas. He brings the Hispanic community also with his last name. He brings all of the people who love his analytical abilities to break down plays before. And he's just a football guy. And I think the other thing that sticks out too is he doesn't take himself too seriously.
No, he doesn't.
He's willing to laugh at himself,
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big part of it too, for being that type of personality that would lead the flagship for ESPN.
Yeah, I think it would be great, for Tony to be on Monday nights. Make Monday nights that more exciting. I really do. I think a lot of people look forward to Tony Romo being on a broadcast, and I think a lot of people are they get excited. I know I get excited about it. Oh, Tony's on this game.
Not everybody shares those sentiments, but
a lot of people do.
A lot of people do.
A lot of people like the way he breaks down the games. He does a great job. He's very likable.
Right. Very family friendly.
Very family friendly. Very down to earth.
Yeah.
I mean, he just seems like he's a dude you could sit down next to at a bar and have a beer with, and he would just totally talk to you and hang out.
Or hit the links on the golf course.
Yeah, I know. I need to.
He
I need to
may
get out there.
wipe out your checkbook, but I mean, the dude's a really great athlete all the way around. And then who knows? Maybe he'll step in with Tirico and do some master stuff. I'm not sure who holds that contract, but
yeah,
I'm sure ESPN would love to get in the mix.
Well, now that I think about it, I mean, if he's doing a Monday night, then his weekends are kind of open.
And it's off season with golf going on. It's off season with golf's going on.
Yeah, I mean, he could be doing a little golf in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then do the Monday night football game. Wow, yeah. Do it, Tony.
Man, we need to be Tony's agents. We're over here lining up different things for him. Like, hey, Tony, you can do this and you can do that.
Yeah, so Tony Romo could be heading to ESPN. I don't see why he wouldn't. $10 to $14 million. I mean, that's a lot of money. I'd take it. Jimmy Johnson and Cliff Harris selected for the Hall of Fame. Congratulations to both of them. Unfortunately, Drew Pearson and original Cowboys owner Clint Murkison didn't make the cut. I'm sure just baffled why Drew Pearson's still not in the Hall of Fame. But congratulations to Coach Johnson and Cliff Harris and the way that they did the announcement for Jimmy Johnson. that was one of the coolest things that I've seen on live television for a while.
I've never seen it before.
And just they're on a live segment. They bring out the president and CEO of the Football Hall of Fame, and just on live television, they let Jimmy Johnson know that he has made or been selected for the Hall of Fame, and he couldn't help but get emotional. I mean, heck, I was sitting on my couch getting emotional for the guy. I mean, it was such a cool event, such something something to see and really just to be a part of. So shout out to the producers at Fox and people that put that together, because he really got the emotion of Jimmy Johnson and what it really means to these guys when all their hard work and dedication and everything that they've worked for their whole lives are honored in that way. And I think a lot of people unfortunately don't get to have that. You know what I'm saying? You don't. There's no Hall of Fame for payroll and benefits directors. There's no,
no, probably
not. There's no Hall of Fame, for the Health and Human Services guys.
Probably not. Probably not.
Probably, if there is, let us know, because I'm going to nominate myself. But
it was special though, Chris.
It was special.
It was very special for someone like me who, when Dallas won their first Super Bowl, I think I was 7 or 8 years old, and watching the dominance of the Cowboys in the 90s. And I think the situation that made it so special was Jimmy not getting to get that information around his contemporaries.
Yeah. And
also understanding how tragic it was for Jimmy to step down and step away when he didn't want to from the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
And it was a move that was, I'm pretty sure, I don't want to say coerced, but it was probably highly pushed to get Jerry to tell Jimmy to go ahead.
He was motivated.
Yeah. And so my biggest takeaway was like the emotion, the elation, all of the different feelings that Jimmy was going through, you could see on his face.
Yeah.
And for him to be articulate enough to describe that he was grateful for all of the people that he helped and all the people that he coached and all the people that helped him along the way, for them to understand how hard it was for him to do that. And he wanted to show his grateful feelings. And we obviously got to see that on Sunday whenever, the Hall of Fame, and shout out to the Hall of Fame and Fox for collaborating to have that foresight and say, man, wouldn't it be cool to do this live without them even knowing? And I've also read a couple of stories where the guys didn't know. Terry, Howie, Michael, Tony, they didn't know.
Oh, wow.
And that's why it was kind of funny how you saw Terry Bradshaw acting kind of giddy. Like, he was acting like a kid.
Like a kid,
And I was like, wow, it's like these guys they had no clue.
Yeah.
And so a great thing to see, very special. And Jerry Jones, how about putting Jimmy in the Ring of Honor now? I think he's earned it.
Yeah. But shout out to Jimmy Johnson and Cliff Harris, of course, also selected for the Hall of Fame. Just a nightmare back in the defensive backfield for the Cowboys back in the 70s, back before our time, of course. I'm sure Zach probably never even heard that name, but maybe, I don't know. I'm not gonna speak for Zach, but yeah, I mean, once again, Jimmy Johnson, congratulations. He did wonders for that Cowboys team. I mean, they were 1-15 and also ran, and then reel off back-to-back championships, NFC. Then after that, I think it was after that was an NFC championship game, and then Barry Switzer with the third Dallas Cowboys championship there in the 90s. But Jimmy went on, did a stint with the Dolphins,
right, and
then started as a broadcaster in 2002. But I think one of the things that I really got out of it was just and I kind of remembered too, and shout out to Coach Keller. He's on our watch party right now. Is all the work that these coaches put in, and from a high school level to college to NFL. I mean, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into. You're sacrificing time with your family. You're sacrificing time with your friends. You're sacrificing a lot to get these football players ready for a game. I mean, a lot of times we see what the end result is on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, but there is so much blood, sweat, and tears that it goes into, so much hard work, and so much of your heart that goes into this, because you have a lot of relationships that you have to build, and you have to just really be a part of, and there's just a lot of emotion involved. So. Once again, shout out to Jimmy Johnson for making that Hall of Fame. All right, more Cowboys news. Well, I guess former Cowboys news. Jason Garrett interviews for the Giants offensive coordinator position. Thoughts about that, Paul?
Man, who cares? Yeah. Good luck, Jason. I wish you all the best. Giants, if I were y'all, David Gettleman, I don't know what you're thinking. Let the ego go, bro. Just find a younger coordinator. Find somebody off of a staff at LSU, somebody who worked with Joe Brady. Find one of those guys. Jason Garrett's not the guy you need.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of I think maybe it was more of like, hey, how much can you let us know about the organization kind of thing. I don't know. You never know. I mean, he was a great offense coordinator. Pretty good. Oh, great. But he just wasn't a good head coach.
No.
So Jason Garrett still going to try to be an NFL head coach in some capacity. Real quickly, want to shout out watch party people. Sarita, Chris Hernandez, Hot Sauce. What's up, Hot Sauce? Ron, Coach Keller, Popo, Buddy. What up, Buddy? Eric Partita and Paul once again. And don't forget, Sunday, Kreitz Market, live broadcast, reconathlete.com, starting at noon. It's going to be me, Chris Sanchez, Paul Rodriguez, Zach Lucetto, Snoop Daniel, and hopefully we're going to have some guests. We're going to try to get some trivia going with some Kreitz Market gift certificates. And we also want to shout out our other sponsors, The Social. They're in Lockhart. They're going to be sponsoring the 2020 football season for the Lockhart Lions, and of course Focus Fit as well. That's over in San Marcos, and they're going to be sponsoring the 2020 coverage of Recon Athlete and San Marcos, the San Marcos Rattlers.
That's right. So
shout out to Kreitz Market, Focus Fit, and The Social. Have you been to The Social yet?
I have not been.
You have not been?
But
okay.
I did see some posts that some folks I know were watching the national championship there on Monday night. So it's a great place to go. Check it out. Brunch is excellent, I hear. So I'll probably make my way down there and scoop up a brunch or two in the coming weeks.
All right. So we'll see y'all on Sunday. Hopefully some of y'all, we'll see y'all at Kreitz Market at 12 o'clock, and we're going to be out there shouting out everybody that shows up and everybody that's on our watch party. All right. Before we go on to these championship games, Paul,
yeah,
I do want to mention and talk a little bit about Luke Keuchly retiring after 8 NFL seasons. Just a great linebacker for the Carolina Panthers. You put that video on Messenger when it first came out, and I was totally floored by it. It was just something that was unexpected. But in the speech that Luke Keuchly gave, you could just tell that it wasn't there anymore. That he could tell, like. He's like, you have to give 110% in this game, and he just felt like he could not do that anymore. And I have to give him, so much props for that, because you know how big egos are,
right?
Especially at that level. You have to have, you're an alpha male. You have to have a huge ego. You have to be to want to and to believe that you are the best athlete and the best player out there on the field to have success. And to be able to just be self-aware enough to look at yourself and say, you know what, I don't think I have it in me anymore, especially as young as he is. He's like early 30s, so 30. I mean,
28, 29.
Yeah, he's not even – I need to see how old he is. But just to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, it's time. I'm not going to go out there and, half-ass it and possibly, hurt myself in this. But – I mean, he was such a great player for the Carolina Panthers. I don't know if he's Hall of Fame worthy. I know there's some people, that were talking about that just because of, what had been going on with, Jimmy Johnson and all that. But Luke Keuchly was a heck of a player for the Carolina Panthers. Now going to retire after 8 NFL seasons, Paul.
Something I focused on a lot when I was in school is I would read a lot of dissertations on traumatic brain injury. I'd read a lot of different theses on CTE, and that was a time when this was all kind of coming out and leaking out through the NFL. And I know for them it's a 4-letter word, but at the end of the day, Luke Keuchly, I believe, told himself, "I've made enough money. I'm set. I've set myself up for generations to be secure financially." And the other half of it, I'm not saying it was a brain injury. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is maybe he just didn't have the urge to take care of his body anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be a plethora of injuries. It could have been the totality of the injuries. And for him, it just wasn't worth it anymore. And respect to Keuchly for having that self-awareness, like you said, to step away. And the only thing I find a little bit of a drawback is will we ever see a revolutionary linebacker again? Yeah. A guy like Ray Lewis, a guy who, as the years went on, his brain got sharper and sharper. And we see that a lot, especially with quarterbacks. The body goes, but the mind gets sharper. And that's kind of how the skill and talent level balance themselves out. And, I think that, with the tragedies that we've had in the NFL that have come to light, and the cause being CTE, some of these guys may just say, look, I don't want to play past 30, or maybe I have some signs going on right now that are making me say, okay, it's time to step away. Is it a decision I'm making alone, or is this a situation, or is this a answer that I'm getting from my whole family? And I think that that's what you want to do. Yeah. But props to the NFL for bringing in new neurologists that are independent to give them qualified, educated diagnosis of what's going on, what can happen, what will happen, what may happen. And I think being well informed and having the opportunity for these guys to make an educated decision is the best thing for them and for overall health for everybody participating in football, from the Pee Wee leagues all the way to the NFL.
Yeah. And I think, he didn't really mention any of that, but I do think
that's his right to keep his medical condition private.
Right. But it's hard not to speculate in that, in that area or that way, and, especially with him. He was kind of an undersized, linebacker. He was a speed guy, he wasn't, not a huge guy. But he would, stick his nose in there, he would definitely get in there and put some licks on some people. And, after a while that just kind of wears down on you, so, yeah, but he had a great career there in Carolina. I don't think that he's regretting anything, and I think, and one thing he did mention was in his speech was that it wasn't because of the coaching change. No. It wasn't, because Ron Rivera had been, fired, a couple months ago. So he was, talking about Luke Keuchly here, former now linebacker of the Carolina Panthers. He was grateful for, everything that the Carolina Panthers had done for him, Coach Rivera. And he was just, like you said, and like we've both said, that he was ready. Yeah. And he was ready to move on and get just get back in with his family and his girlfriend. And heck, I wish I could have retired at under 30.
he spent 8 great years in the NFL. Yeah. Just getting back to your question, I do think he is a Hall of Famer. He just may not be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, it might just take a while. All right, so Luke Keuchly retired after 8 seasons. Coach Jason Garrett, he is interviewing for the Giants OC position. Jimmy Johnson and Cliff Harris selected for the Hall of Fame. Drew Pearson and Clint Murkison, the original Cowboys owner, didn't make the cut, and Tony Romo could be making $10 to $14 million annually in a deal with ESPN. Let's move on to the big time. Championship Sunday, Paul.
Yeah.
We're gonna be live at Kreitz Market from 12 to 2. We're gonna take you all the way up to game time. There's gonna be plenty of talk about the AFC and NFC championship games then, and we're gonna get into a little bit now. Let's start off with the AFC because the Tennessee Titans are in this football game. Did you give them any chance to be in the AFC championship before these playoffs started?
No.
Zero.
No.
If somebody said, you think the Tennessee Titans are going to be in the AFC championship, I would have said, heck no. No way. Are you kidding me?
I would have said that week 15 after they lost to Houston.
Yeah, I was like, no way this is going to happen. But then they go to New England, 200 yards rushing. They go over to Baltimore, 200 yards rushing. And they ain't from Russia.
No, they're not. Not quite.
And go to New England, to Baltimore, win on the road. Can they make this a trifecta against Kansas City, Paul?
The Titans are the most dangerous team in the NFL right now because you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You could get Tannehill and A.J. Brown killing you all day long, or Derrick Henry's just going to run through everybody. And the defense has played phenomenal. But I don't think that you're going in to Arrowhead in 24-degree weather where it's probably going to feel like 15, and you're going to outduel Patrick Mahomes. But that's what everybody said about the first 2 games. But, man, I'm just saying, I'm not going to bet against Tennessee, but I do think that Patrick Mahomes has enough. I think Andy Reid has enough experience to pick up what Vrabel will bring to the table. It's just hard because Vrabel's a big, Patriot-groomed NFL head coach for the Tennessee Titans, and the dude is mean and nasty.
Yeah.
And that's the way Tennessee's playing right now.
Yeah.
Just mean and nasty. They're saying, we're going to get grimy. Mm-hmm. Derrick Henry's going to run through you or around you. Mm-hmm. And as soon as we get you caught sleeping and you get that 8-man front, we're going to play action and throw over the top to A.J. Brown or whoever else is going to be out there. I think Cortland's out there too. Mm-hmm. But, geez, they're just so dangerous. And and if Kansas City comes out flat like they did against Houston last week, and, I mean, I know they could overcome 24 points, but, man, Houston's a throwing team. They're not a running first team.
Right.
Tennessee is a run first team that plays solid defense. Mm-hmm. Don't get down 24 points to a team like that because they're going to make you climb Mount Everest to get over the hump to get the W.
Yeah, because if for some reason Tennessee gets up by 2 touchdowns, I mean, it's just going to be Derrick Henry right, Derrick Henry left, Derrick Henry up the middle, and then possibly if it's a third and mid or third and long, little play action. And I think it's just Tennessee, they're primed and ready for another upset. I just don't know if they can do it 3 times in a row. Right now, the Chiefs are favored by 7.5. Is that what you got? I see a 7.5 line.
I see 7.
You see 7? Okay, so it might have moved. 52.5 is what I see on the over-under.
53.
53. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So people are going Tennessee, and they're going the under.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think the only reason why that's +7 for Tennessee right now.
Or they're going the over if it's going up, right?
Yeah, they're going the over.
They're going the over. It's going up. Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm just saying they're taking that +7, I think, only based off the upsets that Tennessee's had this past week. Because if this matchup is in the regular season and they're playing at Kansas City and it's cold, this is a +10 easy, plus maybe 13 dog that the Tennessee's going into Arrowhead with. That's just the way I see it. I don't know. I mean, like last week, Texans were favored. Kansas City had a 10-point spread. They were down by 24 in the first quarter, and then they come back and win 51-31.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't know. I mean, we know Kansas City can score points. We just don't know if they can stop Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big test for Kansas City. And I got to shout out to Emo because he called it last week. He was saying San Francisco, Tennessee. That was his Super Bowl.
Oh, really?
That's his Super Bowl. That's what he's saying. So he's a big Tennessee fan right now. But I just don't know if they can do it 3 times in a row. I think that emotionally they're probably spent. I mean, going on the road to New England, on the road to Baltimore, that takes a lot out of you. To do it 3 times in a row against Kansas City. I mean, these are the 3 top teams in the AFC. And obviously, I mean, well, I don't know. Well, yeah, AFC's a better conference than the NFC right now.
I would say
overall.
Yeah.
Now, the top teams could be pretty close. Green Bay and San Francisco definitely could, be up there with Baltimore, Kansas City, and New England for sure. We'll talk about that game here in a minute. But the Titans... they've scored a touchdown in 12 straight red zone opportunities.
Derrick Henry.
So if they get down there, they're probably getting in the end zone. So, and it's like you said, they can't go down to the Tennessee Titans. I'm talking about Kansas City here.
Yeah.
Because Tennessee is just going to just grind it out. And they're not going to give the opportunity to Kansas City. They're not going to go for a fake punt when they're up, 24-7, whatever it was. I mean,
not on passing the 4th and 1 in the red zone before.
Right.
Yeah. No, they're not going to do that.
Right. And their coach Vrabel isn't going to be making bonehead decisions like that.
Good term. Cliche term, bonehead.
Shout out to the Texans though. I had a good season. God, I just thought that I was like, man, the Texans are going to be in the AFC Championship. Thought that for the whole first quarter, man. I was like, wow, man, cool. I'm going to be a Texans fan next week. Didn't quite work out, but I mean, I think I think the line, since it started out 7.5, it's at 7.
It could move again.
I think it's going to stay. I think it'll stay there. I think 7's a nice round number, and so I think people are going to kind of go either way. I don't see that line moving anymore. Now 53 could move. I think 53 might move because people might be saying, "Oh, well, this might be a grinded out defensive battle on Tennessee's side," so that might come back down. But I think in this game, Kansas City has already shown what they can do offensively, and I don't think, even if it turns into a grinded out game, I think Patrick Mahomes has enough in his arsenal to defeat Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans. That's just my humble opinion, but I've been pretty much wrong this whole playoff season.
Yeah, me too.
So, I mean, I am definitely not putting any, I don't gamble anyways, but I definitely wouldn't put money on this.
I'm old enough to remember the Music City Miracle.
Oh yeah, me too.
With oh gosh, I think that year they went to the Super Bowl.
I remember that.
And for everybody who remembers, that was the team that left Houston, the Houston Oilers, who went to Tennessee. And I have buddies still to this day who are diehard Tennessee fans because they were the original Houston Oilers. But gosh, doesn't it seem like maybe, just maybe, that Music City Miracle Rumble is starting to get churned up in Tennessee, and they're saying, why not us? We can do it. And if they win this game, I think you're going to see a whole lot of Music City Miracle, shirts, apparel, merchandise just being all over Tennessee going in to what would be the Super Bowl if they get the W.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be I think if they win the AFC Championship, I mean, that will it's already a successful season.
Oh, by far.
Already, there's no doubt that it's a successful season for the Titans. But I think this will just kind of put a cap on it. And if they make it to the Super Bowl,
how about narratives, Chris?
Yes.
Let's talk about it. How about narratives? Let's talk about it. With Ryan Tannehill, formerly of the Miami Dolphins, going to play the Super Bowl in Miami in 2 weeks. Wouldn't that be icing on the cake and a big thumb in your nose to the Miami Dolphins for Ryan Tannehill, who took over from Mariota midseason with the Tennessee Titans?
I like that narrative.
That is a tremendous storyline that would be hyped up tremendously by all parties involved for the media.
But also, I don't think the NFL wants Tennessee to be in the Super Bowl. Kansas City needs to be.
But they're already two small market teams.
Yeah, but Kansas City is much more marketable.
Who are you marketing?
Much more marketable.
We're marketing State Farm for
We're
Patrick
marketing
Mahomes?
Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, come
on.
Come
on, dude. He's an All-American kid. He is just he is everything.
We do have the Texas high school football angle with Big Spring versus White House and with the two quarterbacks.
Well, that's true. But I mean, how many State Farm commercials do you see Ryan Tannehill in?
That's because Ryan Tannehill was a backup quarterback. That's why.
I guess maybe he'll be, maybe he'll hang out with Jake from State Farm, over the off season. We never know. He seems like a marketable guy.
I just think that the Tennessee storyline would be much more broad than Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid going for a Super Bowl title.
Yeah, and for all of those conspiracy theorists out there, I mean, they definitely didn't want a Tennessee versus Houston AFC championship. That would have been terrible for the NFL. All right, Green Bay Packers at San Francisco 49ers. I'm seeing another 7.5. What are you seeing?
Same.
7.5. 49ers are favored at home over the Green Bay Packers. That's a lot of points, Paul.
What do you have for over-under?
I am showing anything here.
I'm showing 45.
45. There it is. 45. Yeah. 45 points, really?
Yeah.
That's it?
That's it.
Defense, huh?
Well, San Francisco's been a defensive team. Green Bay really hasn't been a defensive team. In the playoffs, they have been.
So what they're saying is what the boys in Vegas are saying is that the San Francisco 49ers are going to shut down Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Jones is going to be able to run the ball. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be able to throw the ball. there to his myriad of who's whom, what are their names of wide receivers. I mean, how many? I'm interested to see. Maybe I'll. This will be a trivia question. So if you're going to be at Kreitz Market on Sunday, I'm going to ask name 2 Green Bay Packers wide receivers.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's good. I like that. But they have to be receivers, right?
Yeah, receivers.
Not
yeah,
tight ends.
Not tight ends.
Yeah.
2 Green Bay Packers wide receivers.
Cool.
I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
Because, like, who are they?
I mean,
you can do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Adams and
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams and
Alan Lazard. Marquez Scouting.
Geronimo
Allison.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. There's 4 of them right there.
Yeah.
So, but, I mean, besides Devontae Adams, I mean, he's not, I mean, and that's only if you're a fantasy football player.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, Green Bay, I believe in Green Bay, man. I believe in Aaron Rodgers. I believe they can cover 7.5 points. I don't know if they can win this football game, but I do believe that they can win. They can cover 7.5. San Francisco is just so loaded, man. They're that defense. Jesse Armstead. I mean, I know everybody talks about Bosa, but Jesse Armstead, dude, that dude is a beast. That guy is unstoppable.
I think their average height on that defensive front is like 6'6".
Yeah.
They got beast all across.
They're huge,
humongous dudes.
They are giants.
Yeah,
and they can move.
They're quick. They're like that NASCAR package with Michael Strahan and God, what was that other guy's name? Can't think of the top of my head. Anyways, Pierre Paul, and there was another one. Anyway, gave Dallas all kinds of headaches. But these dudes are just like 4 inches taller.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
Yeah. So it's going to be. Definitely difficult for San Francisco to slow down Green Bay, but I think they can do it. But I do believe Green Bay covers the 7.5 points. I don't know if they've got enough to win this football game, just because the matchups for me favor San Francisco.
Well, they played like a month and a half ago.
Yeah,
and it was in San Francisco, and it was 37-8.
Yeah,
and it was just a complete beatdown by San Francisco and Green Bay.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to happen like that. I picked Green Bay to be in the Super Bowl. I think they get that done. I think weather is not going to give an advantage to either team, but I think experience will. And I think that this is where Aaron Rodgers is really going to need to collaborate with Matt LaFleur to get the game plan perfect and not have any holes. Because if you can confuse Garoppolo enough and get a couple of turnovers, I think that's going to be your saving grace. Because this is going to be a dogfight. I just think that's going to be really close. It's going to be really tight. But I think Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, his arm gets enough to get it done. Jimmy Graham, get some separation.
Yeah.
I think he can be the big key factor in that game.
Yeah, it was week 12. It was a 38-7 win of San Francisco over Green Bay at San Francisco. Aaron Rodgers was sacked 5 times, and Green Bay was 1 for 15 on 3rd down.
Run the ball. Run the ball. You got a great back.
All right, so Super Bowl, who's in it, Paul? Or should we wait for Sunday to make our prediction?
Let's wait for Sunday.
Yeah. Let's wait for Sunday to make our prediction. Yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
There we go. All right, so speaking of Sunday, we're going to be out at Kreitz Market once again. 12 o'clock is the start time. Hopefully, we'll be around 12 o'clock. If you can't join us out there, we're going to be on my watch party, of course. Recon Athlete. Check us out at Recon Athlete on all social media. And we're going to have maybe some live music. I think we're going to have some live music out there. We're going to have some trivia going on for some Kreitz Market gift certificates. And shout out to Kreitz Market for the opportunity. Shout out for them renewing their sponsorship with Recon Athlete for the 2020 season. And also shout out to Social and Focus Fit as well. Yep. And, we're just excited to be doing what we're doing here. This has been quite an adventure for all of us. I mean, we didn't know what we were getting into. Took a lot of YouTube and Googling to figure out what we're doing, and we're still learning. We're still moving. Sure. We're still evolving, and we're still learning along the way. But I think we're heading in the right direction, and I hope everybody comes along with us. So any final thoughts for episode 43, Paul?
I want to say thank you to the small community we're building. If you know anybody who would really enjoy our product, please go ahead and share that with them. Of course, you can find us on YouTube as well, or share the Facebook Live. But thank you, everybody. Thank you to all y'all out there for watching us. Thank you.
Paul, do your thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all enjoying the podcast, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. And all y'all on YouTube, hit the bell for notifications. We gone.